you do almost weekly or bi-weekly trips with Spartan. You take him in the car, and I think you were telling me a large reason of you buying a car was Spartan. So it's primarily Spartan's car, is it?
It is Spartan's car.
Okay.
It is Spartan's car. And ultimately, the train ride was quite easy for us. And it made me realize that, okay, it does not matter to him where we are going, how we are going, as long as we are with him in that space.
Sure.
He was quite chill. It was really surprising.
Okay. What's the longest trip you've taken with Spartan so far?
We just recently took a 9-day road trip with Spartan.
Wow.
And we traveled across 5 different places and stayed at 5 different pet-friendly destinations.
Hi there. Welcome to episode 3 of the Pet Central podcast. We're very, very happy to have you here watching episode 3. And today, like I said in the last episode, we're doing something different from now on. We're bringing in guests and we're bringing in people who we feel are doing very exciting things with their pets. People who are doing unusual, exciting, eventful things with their pets. Because like we've kept on harping on the fact that pets are the new babies and pets are like family, we're now really starting to treat pets like family and involving them in a lot of things that we used to do as a family. And now come the months of April, May, which is typically school holiday time and family vacation time, right? Which is what we do in the months of April and May. Your children are away from school, you're taking it a little easy at work, you go away, travel for a week. Traveling is just a part and parcel of family life. You take those 2 large trips a year. Until a couple of years ago, or until let's say 5 years earlier, when you did travel and if you had a pet, you very likely left them at a boarding setup. Today, that's starting to change. Early signs, but starting to change. And today, we're actually talking about traveling with your pets. And you might have noticed that we don't have Shobit with us here today. It's just me, Sagar. Shobit, as you may have it, is traveling. Not with his pet, though. We do have, in fact, we do have Pooja Gaikwad with us, who is an avid traveler with her pet, with her German Shepherd, Spartan. And we've got Pooja here to share her experience and her journey about how it is traveling with pets, how you can get started, how easy it is, how difficult it is, what you should watch out for. So, hi, Pooja. It's fantastic to have you here.
Hey, hi Sagar. Thank you so much for having me. I think the credit also goes to Shobit because he left the spot for me today. And I'm really excited about our topic as well as conversation. So let's get started.
Fantastic. Pooja, before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I understand you work a corporate job. You're also a certified pet trainer. And of course, you travel a lot with Spartan. And you're a fitness buff. Pardon me if I don't know the term. I'm certainly not. So you're heavily into fitness. We'd love to know a little more about you.
All right. So, like Sagar has introduced me already, my name is Pooja Gaikwad. I'm a pet parent to a 2-year-old German Shepherd dog named Spartan, and I'm a professional pet dog trainer. I also work as a senior product manager with Axis Bank, and I'm a person who believes in living life with no limitations. I'm someone who likes to go after what I want, and it has always been one of my things that I want to convert one of my passions into a profession. So while I was working in Mumbai, I was also learning dance and yoga, and I was thinking, could I convert this into a profession? But then it did not really click with me. And ultimately, the COVID situation happened and the lockdown came. And during the lockdown, I was working from home in Bhubaneswar. And I thought to myself that this is a good time to get a pet. I really wanted a dog since for almost 3 decades of my life. And I thought, when will I ever get a chance to work from home again, where I can, utilize this time to raise a puppy and be a part of his development through that stage. Mm-hmm. And then that is how we got Spartan. And when I got him, I was just so excited. I was so excited to try on new things with him. I had already social media makes it very easy for you to see and
Sure.
try new things with your dogs.
Sure.
And I was very focused on training and discipline at that point of time. So I started training him by myself. And I was looking for a professional dog trainer also. But in Bhubaneswar, we did not have many options. There were a couple of people, but they had not gone through the kind of training that we professional trainers do, and also their
Sure.
methods were quite harsh. So that was a big,
Sure.
big red flag for me.
Hmm.
And ultimately, I came across this puppy school program with Dr. Devanshi Desai. They have this back to school puppy training program. We participated in that. We were always, we were always on our toes while we were attending those classes. We just loved them. And I also like to stay ahead in that class. And I
Sure.
think that is what she observed. And she was the first person, in fact, to say that you should come to Mumbai and become a professional dog trainer.
Oh.
And that is something that stayed with me. And when I got a dog, I was also very curious to learn more about them, like how they communicate. How do I understand my dog better? So I also did a couple of courses online with Shireen Merchant in canine behavior and canine aggression. And last year, ultimately, I took a major decision of moving to Bangalore to pursue this professionally. So I did an extensive mentorship program with a well-known dog trainer in Bangalore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I could have never imagined I would do this journey without having Spartan in my life. Like I could have never thought in my childhood that I
Right.
would be doing this thing as of today. So anything that I'm doing here right now, even talking to you, the credit all goes to him.
Absolutely. No, I
And
completely echo your thoughts, in fact, Pooja, because, and Shobit and I also keep discussing this. I think everyone who enters the pet business, right, enters from a place of passion. Either they are current pet parents or they've been pet parents. And a lot of, like you say, a lot of credit goes to our dogs, right? I've got a 2-year-old Jack Russell Terrier called Monk, and a lot of credit goes to Monk for why today I'm running Petal. Right.
yeah, definitely.
And that's, yeah, your eyes open up to the industry, etc. But all of that starts with essentially that first time you bring your pup home and you hold him, and you're like, okay, now a lot of my world is going to revolve around this. And what you did is actually went a couple steps further than I would say the average pet parent does, right? And when I say couple steps further, I mean essentially with really involving Spartan in your activity of traveling. So I'd love to understand, Pooja, how that started. Before you can tell us about how you started traveling with Spartan, I'd like to understand, were you an avid traveler yourself first, or were you a very keen traveler? Did you always want to travel, or did this also become a passion because of Spartan?
Okay. So since I was a kid, my parents, they have taken me and my brother to a lot of places.
Mm.
Traveling has been a part of my life since then. And when I got Spartan and when he was growing up, I really wanted to involve him in that activity because, as you know, when you grow up, you kind of move to different places while you are working or maybe you are studying, and that kind of thing it does not continue within the family further. But
Sure.
having him in the family, it kind of bonded us together, and we started taking the trips together again. So again,
Oh.
he has been a that uh, point of focus for us, and that is how I started with him. But it was not an easy journey. When I was in Bhubaneswar, we were having lockdown, and the rules were quite strict. It was only the government officials who were allowed to travel on the weekdays, and weekends it used to be complete lockdown.
Sure.
And the only places that we could take Spartan to was the vet clinic. And whenever he got into the car, he knew he was going to get an injection, and his barking and his anxiety was so much. It was a lot to
Sure.
handle at that point of time.
Sure. All right. And then what happened? What changed after that?
Okay, so like I said, the lockdown situation was quite strict in Bhubaneswar. So we decided to move to Nagpur, which is my hometown, and we have a big house there. So we thought he would get a lot of place to run around and explore as well.
Sure.
And we decided that, and within the next 2 weeks, we had a train journey, and I wanted to prepare him for that. Now, my two biggest concerns were him barking because I did not want to, make other passengers in the train uncomfortable with that. Second was him getting used to that kind of environment and the movement in the train, I did not want him to feel that kind of anxiety. And I was literally counting the days I had left. So I started taking him every morning for car rides in my mother's car. And by that time, the lockdown situation was slightly better in Bhubaneswar, so I could do this. So I took him every day without failure. I tried to make him comfortable in the car rides by giving him chews, offering calm behavior, rewarding him for that. And also, letting him just enjoy small things like sticking his head out the window, of course, with precautions.
Sure.
And I could see he enjoyed that feeling. And ultimately, he started loving the car rides. So
Lovely.
That is how it started. Yeah.
But that's really insightful, Pooja. So, is this something you read somewhere or something you had discovered as part of your journey as a trainer, that that acclimatization of getting Spartan used to a train ride with daily car rides? Because I personally have never thought of it that way. I take Monk on car rides every now and then to the vet, to the dog park, and he seems to love them. But I've never thought of it in a way that if I take him in the car, he would probably get used to the movement of the train. So where did you get that insight from?
Honestly, I have no idea where it came from because, like I told you, I did a couple of courses with Shireen, and that you kind of get how things can work with dogs. You kind of get how to desensitize. You learn about desensitization. You learn about training them for small aspects which are involved in that activity. So I tried to break it down, and that is how I went about it.
Lovely.
So then ultimately the train ride was quite easy for us, and it made me realize that, okay, it does not matter to him where we are going, how we are going, as long as we are with him in that space.
Sure.
He was quite chill. It was really surprising.
Okay. How was that first train ride from Bhubaneswar to Nagpur?
Oh my God, it was easy. I did not imagine, I really could not imagine. Okay, we went to the railway station. He was a little bit of anxious because that was a lockdown situation. He has never seen so many people around together in that environment. So he was a little, that's in that zone. But ultimately, within the compartment, he settled down. He was like, okay, these are my people and this is my space. I have got my, my food and my bed and everything. I can just settle down here. So he was there.
Got it. So you also essentially carried his bed and his food to make him feel more at home. All right, and just from a logistical standpoint for our viewers and listeners, when you do travel by train in India with a pet, are you required to make any special bookings? Are you required to have certain paperwork?
Yes, definitely. So this is one of the most important things that we could be talking about right now, because when we travel in train, we are only allowed to travel in the first class.
Okay.
And in the first class, there is a compartment there's a cabin of 4 passengers, or there's a coupe of 2 passengers, and you need to book the entire thing. It could be either the cabin or the coupe.
Understood.
And that is so that in case you share that space with any of the other passengers and they are not feeling comfortable, then you might have to, move out. So that is not a good situation to be in. So ultimately, we ended up booking this cabin of 4 people. I was traveling with my mother, father, and Spartan. So anyway, we could, take up that much of space. So we did that booking first, and we also dropped a letter to the station master of that station. So you are basically required to drop a letter of request to allot a cabin when you book the train tickets. You are requested to you kind of need to request to allot a cabin or a coupe for yourself.
And can you do this online, or this has to be done offline?
The booking can be done online, of course, but then the letter has to be dropped in person.
Letter has to be done offline.
That is, it has to, 1 or 2 days before your train ride. And another important thing is to carry the vaccination record of your dogs, plus the travel fitness certificate that you can get from your vet. These are some important documents that are required. And on the day of your journey, you need to visit the cloak room or the parcel room that we call it. And we need to get a ticket for our pet, which is basically a ticket that you get for the parcels that you get transferred via
Got
train.
it. Got it. So
So
similar
they
to
need to
how it
see the
works
dog.
in flights.
Yeah, yeah. Yes,
Got it.
yes.
And my
That is
next
how it
question is,
works.
I think, an interesting one. What's the reaction of other people on the train? Right from the TC to, of course, there must be people in and around. And if there's kids on the train, they're like, "Arey, dog, 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 dog." What did you experience something like this?
Oh my God. Well, people were looking, literally, we felt like celebrities. I would not lie. Every single person's eyes were on my dog and me.
Lovely.
And but in that situation, my priority was to get my dog comfortable and not
Hmm.
to let him get interested or aroused with so many people looking at him or even trying to call him.
Hmm.
So my focus was purely on getting him uh, settled and comfortable in that environment. And of
Sure.
course, when we were in the cabin, some of the people passed by. They saw a dog inside. There was a kid who was he literally loved Spartan, and he was just standing right outside our window. He was like,
How
"Oh,
cute.
there's a dog. I want to see that dog." So it's kind of a reaction that you get because it's not common for people to be
Exactly.
traveling with their dogs.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not that common,
Hmm.
and still for you to be doing this thing, and it grabs a lot of attention. And
Sure.
as long as I think you're respectful of people's spaces and their
Sure.
comfort as well, you don't have any kind of problems. And you have to be also following all the rules that have been
Yeah.
mentioned by these officials and the government authorities, so that
Yeah.
you can have a safe and peaceful travel.
Right. No, I think you make a very good point. It's while of course we could do a lot better in making our transportation services more pet friendly, etc. I don't think India as a country is in a bad place. Right?
Yeah.
There's always room for improvement, but I think even with the limited rules and guidelines we have, it's important for us as pet parents to just follow them. Right?
Yes.
Some of them may be bureaucratic, some of them may seem archaic, but it's fine. I mean, if we want to kind of achieve that end goal of traveling with our pet, we have to follow them. So I think that's a
Definitely.
very important point that you make as well. After that, Pooja, what happened? I mean, I believe this train ride was a one-off, but from what we were chatting earlier, you do almost weekly or bi-weekly trips with Spartan. You take him in the car, and I think you were telling me a large reason of you buying a car was Spartan. So it's primarily Spartan's car, is it?
It is Spartan's car.
Okay.
It is Spartan's car. So continuing on the train journey, when we reached Nagpur, it is a familiar place. We started
Okay.
taking him out to a lot of different places. Like we had our
Hmm.
own farm. We had my grandparents' village that we could visit to.
Okay.
Again, that was where we had a lot of huge farms.
Hmm.
Then we also took him to some of our relatives, and he was quite comfortable. And I
Nice.
realized, okay, this dog is comfortable with traveling. So let me explore some of other places. Then I started taking him out to random places like some lake or a forest or even such just nice roads where I could just walk in. So that is how I realized and, kept on doing this activity quite frequently.
Mhm.
And then the time came when I moved to Bangalore, and it was a place where it was, of course, not our own house. We did not have a car that we used to have back at home.
Sure.
So there was a lot of dependency on Ola and Uber drivers. And we still had to do these activities. Like I did not want to discontinue taking him out on these trips that I do now.
Sure.
We came across a very good pet resort, which is known as Pet Cart. It has a huge swimming pool. And I was always intrigued about how dogs swim in water because I've just known that they're natural born swimmers,
Natural
and
swimmers,
especially
yeah.
for dogs like German shepherds, it's quite easy. I really
Sure.
wanted to try that with him, and yeah, I got lucky some of the time. So Ola and Uber drivers they accepted, and I made it a point to tell them upfront that I have a big dog. Are you comfortable? I would be, covering your seat with a bed sheet or a cloth or something. And even after we come back, I would be cleaning it up for you nicely with sanitizer and everything.
Sure.
Uh, Sometimes I got lucky. So within the first two requests, they used to come. Sometimes it took like 5 to 6 requests and a lot of cancellations
Sure.
for, for somebody to ultimately come and pick us up. So personally, that gave me a lot of anxiety. It was not a good situation to be in, because
Sure.
it made me anxious about then taking him anywhere. Be it vet visits also.
Sure.
That fear kind of stayed in my mind. That what if what if they deny when you really need it? When
Hmm.
there's an
Hmm.
emergency, what if they deny it? What will you do?
Sure.
And ultimately, we decided to get a car. I mean, in a
Mhm.
place like Mumbai or Bangalore, I would have never imagined getting a car. But then for this dog, we decided to get
Wow.
it. And literally, we take him, we take the car out only when we go out on our weekly trips with him. Otherwise, we just keep the car at home. So that is why we call it Spartan's car.
If our automobile company or companies or automobile industry is listening, I think they need to start targeting pets and pet parents in their car advertisements,
Yeah.
because this might be, I mean, it's the first time I'm hearing of it, especially someone buying a car for a pet. But I don't think the day is very far where that will be a major use case. If not an entire car for a pet, but then like we've always had, let's say baby car seats. There already are things for pets, right? There's car leashes,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
For pets, which is kind of, I think it's an interesting segment to segue into when you do travel, right? With Spartan. So now you've done train journeys, you do regular car journeys, you take him on treks and nature hikes and to lakes, etc. What all do you carry in terms of accessories? Right, I think a couple of
Mhm.
the obvious ones that come to mind are like a pet water bottle, and you carry his food and blankets and etc. But are there other things, both from a uh, enjoyability perspective to a medical and health perspective?
That's a very interesting question. Yes, so we do carry a couple of things while we go on for these, weekly trips, or even for longer trips than this.
Sure.
So we always have a set of extra leash and collar in case
Okay.
his current one, faces any kind of breakdown. A
Mhm.
long leash is a must. A long leash, I swear
Sure.
by them, it can give your dog a lot of freedom to explore and run around, while still giving you a sense of comfort that they are there with you.
On a leash. Yeah.
I mean, whether your dog is trained or not, you should definitely have them on a long leash. Because in
Hmm.
case of emergency, or if they spot other animal that might trigger them, you have a hold on them. So it's
Hmm.
important. Other than that, of course, food and water along with the bowls. Then we carry a first aid kit. This is very
Okay.
important
Okay.
in case you go to places which are rural and they do not have a vet clinic available. You might need to, do some things by yourself to get your dog treated. So it's important.
Sure.
Then
Sure.
we carry a grooming and cleaning kit, which could involve their
Hmm.
brushes and their towels and their shampoos and paw balms, everything.
Hmm.
I do carry some high value treats like eggs or chicken or cheese, so
Sure.
that I can,
Sure.
reward his good behaviors when we are through that journey, or when he's,
Hmm.
behaving calm in the car. And of course, for recreation, then we carry his favorite toys. He loves this one frisbee, yellow frisbee, which floats
Okay.
in the water, so that in case we go
Wow.
into water bodies, he gets to play there, and
Hmm.
his tuck toys. So these are the things that we would always carry with us. And
Got it.
from safety perspective, Sagar, I would make sure that his space in the car is quite comfortable. We would put a
Hmm.
hammock in the car between the front and the back seats,
Okay.
and then we would just lay over a cover of sofa. We just got it because it's quite thick and it's quite furry.
Got it.
And
So
on
he
top
doesn't
of that,
fall down.
we yes, yes. And on top
Understood.
of that, we also put a dog mat so that it's quite cushiony and settled and stable
Oh,
for him to be there. While the car
got it.
movement is happening, that thing kind of stays stable. And then, of
Got it.
course, the dog's seat belt to keep them secured. So,
Hmm.
from safety and from health perspective and from recreation perspective, we do take care of all these things while traveling.
Got it. And when you do travel, what's the longest trip you've taken with Spartan so far?
We just recently took a 9-day road trip with Spartan,
Wow.
and we traveled across 5 different places and stayed at 5 different pet friendly destinations.
Mhm.
The travel was almost of 800 kilometers and 18 to 20 hours in time, but we
Hmm.
divided it such that any point of any day we had to travel only 3 to 3.5 hours maximum. So
Got
that is
it.
how we divided the travel. But
Sure.
it was quite a big journey to do. And other
Hmm.
than that, also, we've had a couple of travels where we had to drive at a stretch of 5 to 6 hours. So
Hmm.
during these travels, the most important thing is to take care that, you give them frequent pee and poo breaks and
Right.
give them just a break to get out of the car and, be in that moment.
Right.
Because we are used to these kind of, long travels in,
Sure. For them, it's
trains and
yeah,
buses and
yeah,
whatnot.
yeah.
Yeah, so the need to take care of these things.
Makes sense. Interesting. And good that you also mentioned pet-friendly places. My next question was that how easy or difficult is it to find pet-friendly places in, especially, let's say, road trip kind of destinations, right? Which are not necessarily your metro, which are actually never your metros and tier one, tier two cities,
Yeah.
but more say offbeat locations. How easy is it finding pet-friendly places, and how do you do it?
Fortunately, it's not very difficult these days
Yeah.
because you have platforms like Airbnb.
Hmm.
So for this particular trip, I referred to Airbnb itself. I first of all I drew out a map and I just pointed or marked the places where I wanted to go to, and I
Okay.
checked on Airbnb if there are pet friendly properties available there. So then it was
Got it.
decided that okay, we can go there.
Got it.
And of course, in Airbnb, you have options like you can enter the number of people traveling with you, or if any pet
Correct.
is assisting you, then accordingly it will filter out those kind of properties.
Hmm.
But I made sure that I had a conversation with the host of these properties so that I can confirm. While it was written in the description that they allow pets, I just wanted to reconfirm that.
Sure.
And upon having conversations with them, I came to know that some people they still allowed pets, while some had to discontinue because of a bad
Hmm.
experience with
Hmm.
some previous guests that they had.
Sure.
So otherwise, the experience of finding pet friendly places, I would say, is quite easy as of date. You
Got
have
it.
these options.
Got it. And fairly easily searchable. I mean,
Yes, yes.
Airbnb is an extremely good app, good great tool for holiday. Perfect. One last question I have from you, Pooja, is, or rather for you, Pooja, is see, me as a pet parent, I'm a little anxious, right? So I've also got a tiny dog, and I always feel, oh no, how can I take him to? I've taken him swimming, I've taken him on a leash to a few places, but I always feel, oh no, how can I take him on a trek or a hike? Maybe he'll get hurt, maybe he'll scratch himself somewhere, or oh, how can I take him to a lake? Is it even safe? Our lakes, I mean, I know he can swim naturally. Probably a lot of these fears are irrational, and probably I'm hoping I'm not the only pet parent who feels he has these irrational fears. Did you have these fears early on? If yes, how did you overcome them? If not, what would you recommend for a person like me to just say, you know what, screw it, I'm going to take him to the lake. I'm sure he'll have a great time, and then we'll see what happens.
Sagar, we're in the same boat. I do have these irrational fears.
Okay.
Let me also tell you that in my entire family, it's only Spartan who knows how to swim. But I still
Wow.
want to take him
Okay.
to, but I still want to take him to places where he can get to swim. And for safety purposes, I would definitely keep him on a long line, like I've told before, whether it is
Mhm.
trekking or, even just walking in a plain, flat farm, I would still keep him on a long leash because I
Hmm.
need that sense of safety and comfort as well. And when I know, okay,
Just
okay,
if I
he's,
can just stop you for a second, Pooja. When you say long leash, and
yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people watching this will have this question, how long are we
okay.
talking? 20 feet or the leashes?
Yeah, you get these 15 to 20 feet long leashes.
Okay.
You have
Okay.
this very good brand for the love of dogs. You can definitely go for that one.
Right.
Otherwise, you can also find it on Amazon.
Sure.
So these are some options that you could go for.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I do have these irrational
Hmm.
fears, and even if he goes into a water body, I know he's going to come back. I know he's able to swim very swiftly into it, take
Hmm.
turns, and do whatnot. But I would still like to keep him close and not let him just go away like
Sure.
that.
Sure.
And even when we go to these places, Sagar, I try to make sure that these places are not very crowded, or there are no other animals, because he's not a dog who is comfortable with other animals. So I
Got
try
it.
to go for these places. So yeah, these kind of fears are there because ultimately you care for your dog just like you would care for your family member. And like you said in the beginning of this episode, like we treat them as a family. In case
Right.
we had kids, we would definitely take care of our kids the same way. We would try to,
Absolutely.
make the experience overall comfortable for them. So why not for
Mhm.
pets? I think that's completely okay to have these kind of
Bang on.
concerns.
Absolutely. I do have one more question that I just thought of, and
Yeah.
this will be where we kind of end the episode. Look,
All right.
taking care of pets and rather pet parenting is a full-time job, right? Along with the other full-time jobs that we do, right?
Yes.
The other full-time corporate jobs or whatever we do. Typically, when we say that we want to take a break, right? It's taking a break from doing that job, from the full-time job, right? When you do travel with your pets, and I'm sure a lot of human parents also experience this with their toddlers or infants, that यार मैं जब भी इसके साथ travel करता हूँ मेरा holiday होता ही नहीं है. I am full time behind it. And I would love if you can be completely candid here. Pooja, do you at some times feel that way that you know what, traveling with my pet is great, but because I have to be taking care of him constantly, is it kind of cutting into my vacation time or my vacation mind space?
That's a very valid question. Let me start off by saying this. And yeah, I do feel like, there are times when I need a break from Spartan also, because ultimately
Yeah,
I'm a human being. I'm
yeah,
somebody who values my me time and I need that.
sure,
And like you said, it's also a full-time job to be taking care of a pet,
Hmm.
apart from the jobs that you're already doing.
Yeah,
So I do take those times, and luckily I get those breaks when I have to travel for work, because then I have to leave
sure,
Spartan
sure,
behind at home.
yeah,
And otherwise, also in my daily life, I try to go out a little on weekends. The
hmm,
thing is, this COVID has made me a little lazy. I tend to
yeah,
stay indoors a lot more
sure,
than compared to before. But yeah, because of that, I've had limited chances to go out. But now I've made it a point that he should also be comfortable with me going out, and
makes sense.
we've worked a lot on that. We have worked on separation anxiety. And
Wow.
yeah, so I do take those kind of breaks where I go out and just enjoy with my girls or friends, and it's
Hmm.
necessary as a pet parent. It is necessary to have these kind of breaks, and
Time
not
away
just
from
for
your
pet
pet.
parents.
Yeah,
I think even yeah, I mean human parents also do it. I'm pretty sure everybody needs a break from
sure,
doing this thing constantly. It kind of
sure, yeah,
it starts taking a toll over you at a point of time. And the reason why I take Spartan out for our weekly trips is because I want him to decompress. It is not natural
hmm.
for them to be constantly living inside, this human society, which is, full of concrete and roads and, these
Right,
triggers like other stray dogs and all. So even I need to decompress.
makes sense.
So yeah, I need breaks.
Makes sense. And then sometimes I think when you are taking Spartan out also to decompress, uh, of course, while the responsibility remains, you're also decompressing. Because I can say this for
Hmm.
sure. I work a pretty busy schedule, and there was a time before I was working this schedule that I would take Monk for a daily walk. That daily walk 7 days a week has now come down to maybe 3 days a week. But those days I take him for a walk, he feels good for sure, but I can see myself just feeling so much happier those evenings because I've taken him for a walk. One, of course, is the effect of fresh air, etc. But then when you see your pet that happy, and it also gives you that, let's call it kind of selfish satisfaction or adrenaline that I've done something great for my pet, which is why he's so happy. So yeah, that's that, and yeah, maybe Pooja, we should do perhaps another episode at some point about what you just said, right? That it's important for pet parents also to take time away from their pets every now and then.
Yes.
Limited time in small pockets, because yes, it's a full-time job and can get pretty hectic. And sometimes you want to just kick back and say, okay, no, not today, I'm tired, right?
There are
So
those
yeah,
days.
that's yeah, there are those days. But no, it's been a pleasure having you, Pooja, and I think it's been extremely informative as well. A lot of the things that you've told us. And I think it's a good checklist or a guide also for people who want to start traveling with their pets. They can kind of come back to this episode and check out what all you've said, and it's going to be really helpful. I know for a fact that I'm going to try at least to take Monk out on a weekend trip or so. and maybe I'll come back and report to you how that went.
Oh, I would be looking forward to it. And
Perfect.
it was, like I said, it was exciting for me, and I'm glad we had this conversation. And the questions were really interesting. I hope I have helped where I could. And in case our viewers or audience have any further questions, they can reach out to you or me to, get any kind of
Yeah,
query
that's
clarified.
actually great. So if what we'll also do is in the comments on YouTube, and then when we post this on Instagram, we'll put down Pooja's details as well. And if there's something you want to reach out to her for, please feel free. All right, great. Thanks a lot for being here, Pooja. I think this was then episode 3 of the Pet Central podcast. Uh, Hope you loved it, and we'll see you again next month. Thanks and bye bye.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much.